you for another daily math review. So hopefully you're using these notes and you're finding that they help. So here we are adding two fractions. We're actually adding mixed numbers. So the first thing we have to do is find a common denominator. So our denominators are 3 and 9. So we're going to make a multiples chart for both those. So multiples of 3 are things like 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. And multiples of 9 are things like 9, 18, 27. We want to find the one that is in common that has the least value. So that's going to be 9. So now we're going to convert our fractions, so just the fraction part of our number, to our common denominator. And 8/9, when we convert it to a common denominator, is 9. But when we take 2/3 and we figure out, oh, to get from 3 to 9, we're going to multiply by 3. We're going to do the same thing on the top. And we get 6. So now, to help you out here, we are actually adding 6/9 and 8/9. Okay. So we're actually adding the fractions 6/9 plus 8/9. 6 plus 8 is 14. So there I've added the fractions. Okay, so when I add the fraction part, I get 14/9. For my next part, I'm going to add the whole number. That's what we mean by adding the whole number. We're going to take the 3 and the 1, and we're going to add them, and we're going to get 4. So right now, we have as our answer 4 is our whole, 14/9 is our fraction, but 14/9 is what Ms. VB calls a big head, or an improper fraction. That says improper fraction. So that's where this regroup, if necessary, comes in. So I have to take 14/9. 9 goes into 14 one time. So 14/9 is 1 and 5/9. That's this regrouping. But I still have, from over here, I have 4. So if I have 4 wholes and 1 and 5/9, I actually can add those together. And my final answer is 5 and 5/9. Okay? For my next problem, Mrs. VB used the same numbers we just had. So we know that our common denominator is going to be 9. We know that when we take 2/3 and convert it to 9ths, we get 6/9. Okay? So right now for our next portion, we have, when we're going to subtract the fraction part, we have 6/9 minus 8/9. And we cannot do that because 8 is larger than 6. So this is where we're going to have to bring in our regrouping. So if I look over here, 3 and 2/3. Okay, but we've said it actually became 2/3, became 6/9. Regrouping here means just like when you are borrowing, from numbers, we're going to take the 3 and bring it to a 2. But each whole, in this case, we use the denominator. is 9 ninths. So to help you out, 3 is the same as 2 and 9 ninths. That's the same as 3, because 9 ninths is 1. To that, we have to add this 6 ninths. And we end up with 2, 9 plus 6 is 15. So our regrouping, if necessary, becomes 2 and 15 ninths minus 1 from our original problem and 8 ninths. So now I can subtract the fractions. 15 minus 8 is 7. So that's subtracting the fractions. Next, I'm going to subtract the whole numbers. 2 minus 1 is 1. There's nothing else to simplify here. That is my final answer, and it's a little hard to read that was ninths. So 1 and 7 ninths is my final answer. Okay? I'm going to try and move the computer a little closer, realizing I'm not sure how well the sound is picking up. Let's go on to the next problem. Solve for W. So this is like asking yourself, what is a number? And in this case, that stands for W. What is a number that when you subtract 12, you get 10. So if I write it a certain way, I start with a number, I take away 12, I end up with 10. When I put it this way, you guys might remember that in prior grades, you were learned to check with addition. So then you would say, like, work it upwards. 10 plus 12 equals some number. And 10 plus 12 is 22, and that actually makes sense. 22 minus 12 is 10. When you have it written in this format, we're doing the same thing. 10, in order to get rid of, or the opposite of subtracting 12, is adding 12. And 10 plus 12 is 22. Those cancel out. Okay, so in this case, 22 minus 12 is 10. So that's how I can also check it. Same thing here. What number divided by 3 will equal 8? If you want to write it this way, what number divided by 3 will equal 8? Well, again, if you remember from prior grades, you can check problems by doing the inverse. 8 times 3 equals what number? It's 24. Or if you want to do it the way it's written here, this is division. The opposite of division is multiply. When you multiply on both sides, 8 times 3 is 24. And that's how you do that problem. And the last one. I don't know why that little line is there. So the last one, we've said repeatedly, when you have a number, make sure there we go. When you have a number next to parentheses, that means multiply. It means you're going to multiply the number outside of the parentheses by each number, or by each term inside the parentheses. And remember, a term is and I'm writing this out, So you remember it, a combination of letters, signs, and numbers. Okay? So I am going to keep the 10x squared. Not dealing with that yet. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times, remember this term is negative x. It is letters, signs, and numbers. In this case, there's no number, but there is a sign, the negative sign, and a letter. 3 times negative x is negative 3x. And then I'm going to multiply 3 by the third term, which is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So we've gotten to this point. Now let's look again at what terms we have. This is a term. It is an x squared term because the letter is x squared. This is also an x squared term because the letter is x squared. This is just an x term. There is nothing squared. And this is just a number term. So I can combine my two x squareds, 10x squareds and 3x squareds is 13x squared. Minus 3x plus 12. Remember, you were asked to simplify. This is your final answer. You have distributed, this is your distribution, and you have combined your like terms. And that is your final answer.